The boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
All right. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You know, the one, the only Sportcat, often imitated but never replicated. We've got a great chat already started. I know Denise is here. Hello, Denise. Welcome. And I know Chris is listening. Be safe, Chris. Don't stare at us on your screen. Wendell, hello. Good morning to you. Everybody, come over and join the live chat. We have a great group of people over here, and we have a lot of fun. You can find it by coming over to the YouTubes and searching out the Paranormal 3 words, guys with a Z, or just simply the Sportcat shows. And you'll find me hiding over here on the interwebs. So we do a daily news show and some silliness, and, well, who knows? Sometimes we have real news. Sometimes we have, well, junk. All right, well, let's see here. It is currently 1:11 in the East Coast. Good morning to you in Denver, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. Anchorage, good morning. Honolulu, it's bright and early there. Sydney and Perth, we are overnight with you. Good morning to you. And London, it is in the evening there, so good afternoon to you. Let's jump into our news here. We always start with a little bit of, well, I can find the right button here. Today in history. And like we said, today is August 5th. And we always do the history first thing so that we get that out of the way. So let's see. More buttons to push. I know what to do with. All right. In 1100, Henry, I guess that's the first, becomes King of England. The youngest son of William the Conqueror is crowned King of England after his brother dies in a hunting accident. Henry brought peace to England, and in 1106, bested his eldest brother to become the Duke of Normandy. Ultimately, he was succeeded by his nephew, Stephen Blouse. I assume that's correctly spelled or enunciated, although he planned for his daughter, Matilda, to take the throne, which resulted in a period of civil war called the Anarchy. 1620, the Mayflower makes its failed first attempt to depart England. I didn't know that. The Mayflower, carrying 102 passengers, hoping to reach North America, attempts to depart from Southampton, England. However, the ship had to abandon its journey just weeks later. Its companion ship, the Speedwell, sprung a leak, so the ships returned to port. Frustrated with the time lost, the Mayflower left without the Speedwell a month later. 1888, Anna Hanning Bates dies. She was one half of the tallest married couple ever. She died in Ohio at the age of 41. In 1930, Neil Armstrong is born. Neil Armstrong is the first person to walk on the moon. He was born in Wapakakana. I probably pronounced that wrong, Ohio. I'm sorry. Armstrong's interest in aviation began when he took his first plane ride at age 6. After he graduated with a degree in aeronautical engineering in 1955, he was hired as a pilot by the agency that would eventually become NASA. He became a household name on July 20th, 1969, when he stepped out of the Apollo onto the moon's surface and said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." 1962, Marilyn Monroe's body is discovered. World-famous actress and pop culture icon Marilyn Monroe is discovered dead by her housekeeper, Eunice Murray. During the early morning hours, she had a bad feeling about her safety. She had been acting strangely the night before. Peeking through the window, she saw Monroe lying face down, clutching the phone receiver. Tests conducted on her body found that she had died of barbiturate overdose and an apparent suicide. She offed herself, though questions remain to this day. Funnily enough, didn't we report this yesterday? Did she die 2 days? 2009. I don't know how to pronounce that. Dyla Dipolipto is arrested for trying to have her husband killed. Well, her husband, Mike, had been murdered when she called the police, but it was all set up. She broke down when police told her of her husband's death, but in reality, she had hired a hitman to have him killed. The hitman turned out to be an undercover cop who led officers in a sting operation against her. Meanwhile, her husband, Mike, was alive and well. In the end, well, she got 16 years. So, well, she probably deserved more than that. She may get out and try and do it again. And I keep hearing other prepper shows saying they're waiting for the big event when somebody offs the big guy. And I'm like, whoa, that's you shouldn't be talking about that. All right, so in 910, the last major. That's right. Oh, Denise, thank you. You are so amazing. Everybody, please say hi. I know there's quite a few of you watching and listening. Please jump into the chat and say hello. They're friendly. Denise is friendly. She won't bite. Make sure that you hit that like button and share it out, and as well as subscribe. Hit that notification button so you know when we're live. Because one thing I was told by another YouTuber yesterday is there's a new algorithm, and if you say things like we do on this show, well, you get pushed further and further down and not recognized. So I find it funny. I broadcast on YouTube on 3 channels: my personal YouTube page, this page, and Harley's page, Harley and Joker page, the Asylum. And they get more views than this page because of it's the primary. So crazy stuff. All right, where do we leave off? 1305, Scottish resistance leader William Wallace is captured by the English near Glasgow and transported to London for trial and execution. 1583, Humphrey Gilbert claims Newfoundland for the English crown, establishing the first English colony in North America in the beginning of the British Empire. Can you still do that? Can you just plant your flag and say, this is mine? 1716, the Battle of Varweden under Eugene of Savoy defeats the Ottoman in a decisive victory. 1864, the Battle of Mobile Bay, won by the Union Navy, led by Rear Admiral David Farragut, with the cry, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead." David Farragut is actually here from Knoxville, and there's a whole area named after him. So today in film, 1957, American Bandstand premiered on ABC. Wow. 1966, the Beatles released the single Yellow Submarine with Eleanor Rigby in the UK. 1936, American athlete Jesse Owens wins the 200 meter in a world record time of 20.7 seconds. Interesting. All right. Let's see what else it is, because we know every day is special, but every day has its own national day. Did you know that? Well, today is, I'm going to be honest, as that was scrolling up the screen, I thought it read National Fight It Out Day, but it's not. It's National Night Out Day. Let's take a look at that since I butchered it. And it does have to do with public safety. It's the National Night Out Day on the first Tuesday in August. It promotes police community partnerships in neighborhoods across the country. The event focuses on the community and raising awareness through camaraderie by improving area relationships. The hope is to make our neighborhoods safer. Shining a spotlight on the community program, National Night Out increases connections between those who serve the neighborhoods through a variety of programs designed to educate, improve relationships, dialogues, and some of those programs include drug prevention, town watch, neighborhood watch, other anti-watch programs. All right. One of the largest is on the west side of Columbus. The Ogden Block Watch organizes a festival that includes live music, food, and entertainments. While not all events are so large, the significant part of the occasion is the community connection and safety. We need that right now. And interestingly enough, my county in Georgia, Gwinnett County, you can no longer have a neighborhood watch program. I have argued with them for a while, so we're just going to leave it there. National Oyster Day. Well, National Work Like a Dog Day. Hey, I'm discriminated against. It should be National Cat Work Like a Dog Day. Work Like a Cat Day. National Underwear Day. Well, if you want to send me a picture of you in your drawers, Wendell, I will certainly put it out there. So And let's see. It is that was bad. Blogger Day and Burkina Faso Independence. Culturama Day. Don't know what that is. Let's just look it up here because it's got a weird flag and I'm sure somebody's going to say something. Culturama is a public holiday celebrated in St. Kitts and Nevis on Tuesday following the first Monday in August each year. This year it falls on August 5th. It is a festival that highlights the island's cultural history and prolongs the Emancipation Day festivities by one day. All right. Although there are many events throughout the Caribbean, this one stands apart. Cool. Businesses are closed. It's a public holiday. And, well, it's interesting. So they have festivals and everything. So cool. All right. Well, didn't know what that was. Let's go backwards here and see what else today is. National Couscous Day. Never had it. Don't know a thing about it. National Dash Cam Day. National Night Out Day. We said it was National Oyster Day. I'm not a fan of oysters. It's National Underwear Day, Our Lady of Africa Day, and Work Like a Dog Day. All right. Well, as we came live, we had some breaking news that came out of the north. Let me hit the right button here. A preliminary report from the USGS, that's the United States Geological Survey, recorded a 2.7 magnitude earthquake approximately 2 kilometers southwest of Hillsdale, New Jersey. The small earthquake was felt in New York City and surrounding areas, according to multiple social media sites. And we know about the earthquake on Saturday. I think that they upgraded this. Let's refresh this and see if it tells us anything. I think they already upgraded this to a 3.0. Make sure I'm still, yes, I haven't muted myself. No, they're still saying 2.7. Well, even at 2.7, it's not a common thing to have an earthquake about 7.7 miles away from the city. Denise, did you feel it by any chance? So, all right. Well, where all it could be felt, it shook New York, the metropolitan area, registering a magnitude 3 because they have changes. The earthquake occurred near Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, located about 13.5 miles from Hillsdale. It occurred as a result of faulting at shallow depths in the crust. How do they know that so quickly, but yet they can't prognosticate them? So there have been no initial reports of serious injury or significant damage other than people's nerves. So, well, that's breaking news I haven't seen. Officials sound alarm on raw milk. 21 people are sick. 6 children among 21 people infected with E. coli or Campylobacter after drinking raw milk from a Florida farm, state health officials warn. Okay, well, don't drink raw milk. Apparently, it's not good for you. So, Denise says she did not feel this one. Good. I'm glad that you're okay. So, all right, well, we're just going to continue with some silliness here. This comes to us from Science Alert. What happens if every light in the world is switched on at once? That's interesting. The biggest effect of everyone turning on the lights at once would be a surge in demand for electricity, which most people worldwide use to operate their lights. Electricity is a form of energy that is made using many different fuels. Power plants are electricity factories that generate electricity from sources including coal, natural gas, uranium, water, wind, and sunlight. Then they feed it into a network of transmission and distribution wires called the power grid, which delivers the electricity to homes and businesses. To keep the grid stable, electricity must be supplied on demand. When someone turns on the light, they draw power from the grid. A generator must immediately feed an equal amount of power into the grid. If the system gets out of balance, even for a few seconds, a blackout can happen. System operators use sensors and sophisticated computers to track electricity demand so they can keep the power adjusted and the power production up or down as needed. Total power demand, which is what is called the load, varies a lot from hour to hour and season to season. To see why, think of how electricity in your home uses during the day compared to the middle of the night during the summer or a full fall day. Meeting of a demand spike. If everyone turned on their lights at once around the world, they would create a huge sudden demand for electricity. Power plants would have to ramp up generation very quickly to avoid a system crash. But these plants respond to changing demands in different ways. Coal and nuclear plants can provide lots of electricity at almost any time, but if they're shut off for maintenance or they malfunction, it may take hours to bring back online. They also respond slowly to load changes. Power plants that burn natural gas can respond more quickly, changing loads, so they typically are the tool of choice to cover periods when the most electricity is needed, such as hot, sunny summer afternoons. Renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and water power produce less pollution, but are not as easily controlled. That's because the wind doesn't always blow at the same speed, nor is every day equally sunny in most places. Grid managers use large batteries to smooth out power flow as demand rises and falls, but it's not yet possible to store enough electricity in batteries to run an entire town or city. Batteries would be too expensive and would drain too quickly. Some hydropower operators can pump water into lakes during periods of low demand, then release the water to generate electricity when demand is high by running it through machines called turbines. Very popular here in East Tennessee. Fortunately, if everyone turned on their lights at once, two things would work to prevent a total system crash. First, there is no single worldwide power grid. Most countries have their own or multiple regional grids. Neighboring grids, such as those in the United States and Canada, are typically connected so that countries can move electricity across their borders, but they can disconnect quickly. So even if the power went out in some areas, it's unlikely that all the grid would crash at once. Second, over the past 20 years, light bulbs called LED have replaced many older electric lights. LEDs produce differently from earlier light bulb designs and produce much more light from each unit of electricity, so they require much less power from the grid. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, using LED bulbs saves the average households about $225 yearly. As of 2020, nearly all of U.S. homes used LED. I do want to also comment there on the lights. I know that a lot of people may still have those round curly Q fluorescent looking lights. Throw those out. Those are a fire hazard. Do not have them. I cannot tell you how many fires that I fought because of those dang things. One of the sides will start shorting a little bit and smoking. You won't notice. It'll heat up. Then it'll catch on fire if you're not right on top of it. It goes right to the ceiling, and then once it's in the roof, your whole house can be gone. So be very observant of those. Get rid of those. Wendell, more glare, fewer stars. It's important to think about where all light would go. A big spike in lighting would dramatically increase sky glow, the hazy brightness that hangs over towns and cities. Denise says she does not like the new light bulbs. They are very dull. I have that weird eye disease that affects me with ocular. So if there's lots of LED lights in a home, if I move my head too fast or something, my brain doesn't register it and it looks like they're strobing. It's really weird. So, all right, well, there you go. Nothing major would happen. We'd all still be alive. That seemed like that was anticlimactic, but it did bring us to, I don't know why we're doing this, but Duffy to announce the nuclear reactor on the moon. Yes. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who is the interim NASA administrator, testifies during the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure that we need to have a nuclear reactor on the moon. The first major agency effort. All right. Transportation Secretary is going to announce expedited plans this week to build a nuclear reactor on the moon. What could go wrong? They keep highlighting the fact that he's a former news host. That doesn't matter. He's now in charge. NASA has discussed building a reactor on the lunar surface, but this would set a more definitive timeline, according to documents obtained by Politico, and comes just as the agency faces a massive budget cut. The move also underscores how Duffy, who faced pushback from lawmakers about handling two jobs, wants to play a role in NASA policymaking. It's about winning the second space race, said a NASA senior official. Granted anonymity, they wanted to remain nameless, to discuss the documents ahead of the wider release. President Trump named Duffy as the interim administrator in July after abruptly withdrawing the nomination of billionaire Jared Isaacman amid a spat with the nominee's ally, Elon Musk. Duffy also offered a directive to more quickly replace the International Space Station, another NASA goal. The two moves could help accelerate U.S. efforts to reach the moon and Mars, a goal that China is also pursuing. The plans align with the Trump administration focus on crewed spaceflight. The White House has proposed a budget that will increase human spaceflight funds for 2026, even as it advocates for major slashes to other programs, including nearly 50% cut to science missions. Wendell, the reactor directive order with agency to solicit industry proposals for a 100 kilowatt nuclear reactor to launch by 2030. It's only 5 years away. A key consideration for astronauts' return to the lunar surface. NASA previously funded research into a 40 kilowatt reactor for use on the moon, with plans to have a reactor ready to launch by the early 2030s. The first country to have a reactor could declare a keep-out zone, which would significantly inhibit the United States. The directive states a sign of the agency's concern about a joint project China and Russia have launched. The directive also orders NASA to designate a leader for the effort and get industry input within 60 days. The agency is seeking companies able to launch a reactor by 2030, since around that time China intends to land its first astronaut on the moon. The nuclear initiative means that NASA will continue to have a hand in nuclear development even after the Pentagon's recent cancellation of a joint program on nuclear-powered rocket engines. While the budget did not prioritize nuclear propulsion, that wasn't because nuclear propulsion is seen as a non-worthy technology, according to NASA. The space station directive aims to replace the aging, leaky International Space Station with commercially run ones by changing how the agency awards contracts. NASA plans to award at least two companies a contract within 6 months of the agency's request for proposal, RFP. Officials hope to put a new station in space by 2030. Otherwise, only China would have a permanently crewed space station in orbit. Several companies have risen to meet the space station demand, including Axiom Space, Vast, and Blue Origin. But lawmakers have expressed concern in recent months that the agency is not moving fast enough to give them the funds they need. Well, I don't really understand why we need a nuclear power plant up there, but what could possibly go wrong, right? I mean, really, what could possibly go wrong? This comes to us from KLEY, Channel 10, out of Louisiana, Acadian's local news leader. Pineville, Louisiana. According to WNTZ, the Pineville Police Department has identified a suspect dubbed the Barbecue Bandit. Also, she was called the Sausage Bandit, after a 2-day meat theft spree that left grocery store shelves and social media noticeably lighter. According to police, the suspect, you can see a picture of her down below, allegedly made off with an impressive haul of meat and energy drinks over the course of 2 days. 17 packs of ribeye, 6 packs of thick-cut bacon, 12.25 pounds of sausage, and an unspecified amount of energy drinks. I want to know where she stored them. Well, actually, I want to know where she stored the meat. Authorities say the suspect did not pay for the items and exited the store without incident. The department humorously suggested the suspect was either stocking a freezer or prepping for an epic backyard barbecue. The case quickly captured attention on social media after the police department posted about the theft, referring to the suspect as a, quote, meat-loving mystery shopper and calling on the public to help identify her. With a grocery list like this, we're confident she either has the most well-stocked deep freezer in town or knows exactly where a barbecue pit is hiding, the police department posted. Thanks to the community, the suspect has now been identified, though officials have not yet released her name. Charges are expected to follow, and the law enforcement in Pineville posted all suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But let's be honest, that much bacon just doesn't walk out on its own. They brought the jokes too. Anyone with additional information about the meat bandit, please contact the Pineville Police Department. Can't make some of these headlines up. You really can't. So, Wendell wants, the hot dog truck. I saw that story, Wendell. That was kind of crazy. All right. So let's go on here. This is a Texas deputy. She's under investigation. This comes to us from Scallywags and Vagabonds. Christopher Caloris is the author of this article. Texas deputies under investigation over a TikTok video promising to ticket everyone over the lack of sex. Well, the Houston police cop, pictured above here, promised to ticket everyone over her lack of sex. Jennifer Escalera, a Houston, Texas cop, investigated over TikTok video promising to ticket everyone over her lack of sex. Local residents are not amused, but some are hoping they get booked soon. A sexually frustrated police officer in Houston, Texas, is under the investigation after posting on social media about writing everyone a ticket because she didn't get any adult action the night before. The viral video shows Harris County Constable, Precinct 5, Deputy Jennifer Escalero in a squad car in uniform with her nameplate clearly visible, taking out a pen and writing on a notepad with an on-screen caption, "Didn't get cracked last night, so everyone is getting a ticket. Define get cracked." Where there's an itch, well, she shared the video on TikTok where it naturally went viral. The Texas deputy has since deleted the offending video. Was it really offending? A regard of her personal account shows her often posting about being a police officer, including "get ready with me" videos of her putting on makeup before grabbing her uniform, gun, and utility belt from the closet. Her TikTok name under the handle Miss.Escalera repeatedly featured a number of videos in which she appeared in uniform before it was taken down. Despite now being investigated, the, quote, Randy cop continues to remain on active duty. Local residents in Houston's 5th Precinct told Fox 26 the viral post is unprofessional, inappropriate, disrespectful, and childish. "I think it's really inappropriate and disrespectful," one resident told the news media. "Not as much distrust, but you can't rely on them. It makes them look unprofessional when they start posting videos like that. You can't take them serious." Still, others are flooding her TikTok, coming on her post, begging her to arrest them. Well, so I will admit I am not a badge bunny or holster sniffer, but as a law enforcement officer, she's definitely got some guns. So I'll just leave it at that. All right, so we've talked about AI. Sometimes AI is, well, cyber news. Boomers love AI. I like AI. I play with it some. Did that sound right? Rod Stewart takes Ozzy Osbourne tribute step to a very different level. Rod Stewart's tribute to the late rock and roll legend Ozzy Osbourne has been heavily criticized after showing a video generated using artificial AI at one of his shows. The AI video of Ozzy takes selfie with Kurt Cobain, Tupac, and many other artists in heaven. We truly are at the end of time, said one X user. The videos alongside the late Prince of Darkness Ozzy Osbourne holding an antiquated piece of technology, a selfie stick, alongside of some of the world's greatest and also deceased artists. The clip, which shows Osbourne in heaven with the likes of Amy Winehouse, Prince, I don't know who Triple X Tennessean is, Kurt Cobain, Tupac, I don't know, Bob Marley, and others. And it's obviously AI generated. Do you think? Another video posted to Instagram by the New York Post confirms that the bizarre tribute really did happen. Yes, the rumors are true. I went to an Ozzy concert. I went to a Rod Stewart concert last night and witnessed man-made horrors before my comprehension. Ozzy Osbourne with a selfie stick, smiling in heaven with Tina Turner, Bob Marley, Prince. It's the craziest, most disrespectful thing I ever saw. Oh, I got one to top that. The reactions to the AI generated flick are overwhelmingly negative, with many people saying that display at Rod Stewart's concert is outright disrespectful. All right, why is this disrespectful? I'm going to use AI to make a video of your dead grandma breakdancing in heaven with Princess Diana and put it on a giant screen as part of my tour that people have paid money to see. And I'm going to do it without your knowledge or permission, said one outraged Instagram user. Alongside the outraged reactions, many people have questioned whether the late musician would be happy with their image being used in this way. Prince didn't even want his music on Spotify and changed his name to a symbol to protect his intellectual property. I'm 100% sure he wouldn't have signed off on Rod Stewart puppeteering his face on this tacky shit, one user wrote. Prince was 100% against the use of technology. He made that very clear while he was live. This is in so much poor taste. Other users have made fun of the whole tribute, saying that older people are obsessed with AI without understanding the implication. Boomers love AI. You know, someone like 65 is filming this at the other side of the video and crying, one user commented. The media reports that Osbourne and Stewart were actually friends, which makes the Forever Young tribute even weirder. While Stewart is paying homage to his deceased rocker pal using AI, many musicians and creatives are battling against the technology. Back in February, a bunch of creatives decided to leak OpenAI's text-to-video AI model, Sora, along with open letter to the public explaining why. This is due to the artists and creatives feeling as if they are being taken advantage of by AI companies that are training models on their work without their consent. The group concerns seem to have been confirmed when Nick Clegg, formerly Meta's president of global affairs, said that asking for artist consent for their content could train AI models that would kill the industry overnight. Legendary artists like Elton John, Paul McCartney have urged the UK government to protect artificial intelligence. Furthermore, a new study released on Friday by Music Magpie, the voices of Frank Sinatra, Kurt Cobain, and Freddie Mercury are all being cloned by AI without permission. So you could say Stewart's AI tribute to his late friend is part of the problem and is simply tone deaf. Wendell says AI is not a good thing. Well, it's got its uses like everything. So let's see here. Let me continue onward with another weird AI news story. And this one is a news story that is really quite weird. Let me make sure I didn't hit the wrong button here. Okay, I'm not muted. And I just don't understand why. Well, here we go. Jim Acosta interviews an AI version of a teenager killed in the Parkland shooting. This comes to us from Variety. It's just a beautiful thing. According to Ethan Schanfeld, the author. Jim Acosta, the former CNN White House chief correspondent who now hosts an independent show on YouTube, has published an interview with an AI-generated avatar of Joaquin Oliver, who died at age 17 in the Parkland shooting in 2018. The interactive AI was created by Oliver's parents, who granted Acosta the first, quote, interview with the recreated version of their son on what would have been the 25th birthday. Oliver was one of 17 people killed in the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High. Acosta asked AI Oliver about his solution for gun violence, to which the avatar responded, "I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels safe and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding." The avatar added, "Though my life was cut short, I want to keep inspiring others to connect and advocate for change." Acosta then asked AI Oliver about his personal life, such as his favorite sport, his favorite basketball team. The two discussed the movie Remember the Titans and their favorite Star Wars moment. After a 5-minute chat with AI, Acosta then connected with Oliver's father, Manuel Oliver. Said, "I'm kind of speechless as to the technology there." Acosta said, "It was so insightful. It really felt like I was speaking with Joaquin. It's just a beautiful thing." Manuel, who has been an outspoken voice in the push for gun control, said he believed bringing AI Joaquin to life would create more impact. According to Manuel, the avatar is trained on information on the internet, as well as things Oliver wrote and posted online. He said he wanted to make it clear to viewers that he is under no illusions about reviving his son. "I understand that this is AI. I don't want anyone to think that I am in some way trying to bring my son back," he said. "Sadly, I can't, right? I wish I could. However, the technology is out there." Manuel said they created the AI in part so that he and his wife, Patricia, could hear their son's voice again. Patricia will spend hours asking questions, he said. Like any mother, she loves to hear Joaquin saying, "I love you, mommy." They also launched this project so that Oliver could have a voice in conversations around gun safety. Now Joaquin is going to start having followers. He's going to start uploading videos. This is, quote, "just the beginning." Manuel said he is excited about the future of the project and what it means for his son's legacy. What is amazing about this project that we've heard from parents, we've heard from politicians, now we're hearing from one of the kids, Acosta said. That's important. That hasn't happened. Manuel said he plans to have AI Oliver on stage in the middle of a debate and that his knowledge is unlimited. Acosta's interview comes 1 year after a gun control campaign recreated the voices of 6 Parkland victims, including Oliver's, using AI. The messages were circulated online and sent as direct calls to federal lawmakers in the years following the Parkland shooting. Manuel has been on the front lines of gun control advocacy. In 2022, he interrupted a televised speech by Joe Biden celebrating the passage of gun control legislation, which Manuel criticized as too moderate. In 2023, Manuel was arrested after interrupting a congressional hearing on the Second Amendment with his wife, Patricia. Manuel also created a one-man show about grief that he performed across the country. What do you think about that? That's a very weird use of AI, in my opinion, but it's not for me. But okay. All right. So we'll continue on because that was just weird. All right. We're going to skim through some of these. And this comes to us from the Daily Beast under the politics section. This is an editorial comment. Trump brags about a, quote, "very white rose garden's awful makeover." President Trump has claimed his newly paved rose garden is receiving great reviews after unveiling the highly criticized design last week. The plush White House lawns in the center of the garden have now been paved over with white stones to create a large patio that mirrors Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. In his brand new Washington patio, the seal of the President of the United States features on the edges of the paving near the drainage. Speaking to reporters on Sunday, he said he was already getting positive feedback on the paving work, which began in June. We're getting reviews on the Rose Garden, he stated, without clarifying who the reviews were coming from. The Daily Bugle has contacted the White House for comment. The renovation to the Rose Garden was finalized and unveiled on Friday. The work was overseen by National Park Service and funded by the Trust for the National Mall, according to Vogue. The president also shared his inspiration for a choice of pavers in the historic 7,500 square foot near the South Lawn. It's a, quote, beautiful white stone, Trump gushed. It's a stone that has the same color as the White House itself. And because it's, quote, very white, it's going to reflect the heat. It's not going to be very hot, like if you had a dark stone. The original design of the Rose Garden with a large central grass panel was created in 1962 at the request of President John F. Kennedy. However, Trump said the grass was impractical for press conferences as women complained their heels were sinking into the lawn, going to make that into a stone surface, stating that women were, quote, going crazy. The grass was wet. Their heels are going to go right through the grass like 4 inches deep, he told The Spectator in February. We had to do it, Trump said Sunday, reiterating how people would sink into the grass. I'd like 3, 4, 5 days for it to dry out, and we couldn't use it for its really intended purposes. Trump said, so whether they had events or they had news conferences, we couldn't use it. Previous administrations have tinkered with the Rose Garden, from Ronald Reagan swapping out varieties of roses to the Obamas installing a kitchen garden. In 2020, Melania Trump switched the colorful cherry trees and tulips for a more muted tone in line with the original palette of horticulturist Rachel Bunny Mellon, who redesigned the garden during the Kennedy administration. Trump is not finished leaving his stamp on the White House and making it more like Mar-a-Lago, as well as adding his beloved gold ornaments and finishes. Last week, the president announced that he's building a $100 million ballroom inside the White House. We covered that. He also claimed that he was the, quote, perfect president to handle the construction. It's a very incredible structure. It's going to be beautiful. Normally, I could build a building like that in 4 or 5 months, Trump said on Podforce One. But it's a very intricate inside. It's beautiful. It's best marbles. It'll be a great tribute to the White House. Other presidents have talked about it, but never get it done. I'm the builder. I know how to do it. That's Trump's words. Trump administration, this comes from the New York Times, will reinstall a Confederate statue in Washington. Albert Pike was a Confederate general and diplomat who negotiated alliances with slave-owning Native American tribes during the Civil War. They're going to restore and reinstall the only statue that had honored a Confederate official in the U.S. Capitol after demonstrators toppled and set it on fire during the, quote, Black Lives Matter protest 2020. The defaced statue depicts Albert Pike, a Confederate diplomat and general who worked closely with Native Americans from slave-owning tribes that sided with the Confederacy during the Civil War and fought to protect slavery as an institution. He was a prominent leader of the, quote, Freemasons, a secret fraternal society that includes many powerful politicals and elite figures in the 18th and 19th century. I think that probably continued a few more centuries. The bronze 11-foot tall statue of Mr. Pike, which had been in storage since it toppled from its perch near the Capitol grounds 5 years ago, was approved by Congress in 1898 and built by an order of Freemasons. The monument's inscription do not directly mention Mr. Pike's ties to the Confederacy, and the statue itself depicts him as a leader to the Freemasons. Inscriptions on the monument laud Pike as a poet, a scholar, a soldier, an orator, a jurist, and a philanthropist. The announcement by the National Park Service on Monday was the last component of President Trump's sweeping effort to restore Confederate symbols in the military and in public spaces. Earlier this year, Mr. Trump, they don't call him President Trump, directed the military to restore the names of all Army bases that had been named for, quote, Confederate generals, and signed an executive order calling for the restoration of public monuments that were moved during the racial injustice protests that followed the murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer in 2020. Plans to erect the statue were opposed by groups of veterans who had fought for the Union 30 years prior. Protests and calls for the statue's removal then swelled again in the 90s as critics pointed to accusations that Mr. Pike had joined the Ku Klux Klan after the war. A claim others have disputed. The District of Columbia Council in Washington passed a resolution in 1992 calling for the statue to be removed and renewed the request in 2017. Mr. Pike's role in the Civil War centered on Native American tribes on the western frontier who were caught between the United States and Confederacy during the Civil War. Mr. Pike was appointed as a Confederate diplomat to those tribes, and he negotiated alliances with slave-owning tribes, offering the tribes statehood and congressional representation in the Confederacy. A condition of the alliance was a declaration by the tribes that the institution of slavery in the said nation is legal and has existed from time immemorial. I'm not sure how to pronounce that word. After securing the tribal support, he was commissioned as a brigadier general and commanded many of the native troops who sided with the Confederacy. Native Americans fought on both sides of the conflict in the Indian Territory, now the state of Oklahoma, with some Unions and some Confederate contingents hailing from the same tribe. After the war, the U.S. government negotiated new treaties with the tribes that had sided with the Confederacy, seizing tribal land and abolishing slavery. The descendants of those formerly enslaved people, known as the freedmen, still face discrimination by tribes and law enforcement officials. Live footage of Mr. Pike's statue being toppled and burned during the Black Lives Matter protest enraged Mr. Trump, who said the act was a disgrace to our country. Federal police officers arrested Jason Charter, a 25-year-old Washington, D.C. resident, and charged him with destruction of federal property, accused him of dousing the statue with lighter fluid and ignited. The charge was later dropped, and he pled guilty in 2021 to a separate charge of attempting to topple a statue of President Andrew Jackson near the White House. Mr. Charter said on a social media post yesterday that I did not get arrested by the FBI so the statue could go back up. All right. We'll stay with politics for a few minutes. And Stephen A. Smith, if you know who he is, he's a ESPN reporter. Well, he has pointedly told Michelle Obama that he will never be a, quote, housewife after the First Lady compared ESPN and its host to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Smith is the star of First Take and recently signed a $100 million contract with ESPN. He has even teased a possible run for president, but he has found himself in a firing line last week when Obama compared him to a reality star. The ESPN star has since blasted Obama over offensive comments she made about Donald Trump voters, telling her when you're campaigning on behalf of former Vice President Kamala Harris, you said a vote for Trump was a vote against you and a vote against, quote, y'all as women. I want to say for the record, I took a major offense to that. Now, during an interview with Fox's Sean Hannity last night, Smith suggested that the former lady's, quote, housewife remarks proves that she leaves sports to her husband, Barack Obama. He also added, you can say Stephen A. Smith is a lot of things and will be a lot of things. The only thing you can never say about me is that I'm going to be a housewife. She was comparing reality TV to sports TV from the standpoint of watching us go at one another, Smith began. Well, first of all, there's no relationship because there are some of the greatest athletes on the planet Earth that play professional sports. That's who we're talking about, as opposed to reality TV stars that can barely act. Number two, when you look at what she's talking about, you have to take into consideration that she doesn't possibly really pay much attention to sports. Evidently, she leaves that to her husband. And when she talked about, quote, first take, she talked about us arguing with one another, hating on one another. We have a lot of love for one another on first take. We get along just fine. We have a blast, laughing, joking, having a ball, yelling at each other about sports sometimes. We're monotone in our delivery, but we all have lots of fun on first take. That's why we've been on TV. Well, they've been number one for 13 consecutive years and still counting. Number three, this is still Stephen A. Smith speaking. Let me say this so that other people that were on the table with her can say, Stephen A. Smith, a lot of things, will be a lot of things. The one thing you can never say about me is I'm going to be a housewife. There's no confusion there. Zero. Obama sparked the war of words with her comments she made on a recent interview of her IMO podcast. If I listen to ESPN for an hour, it's like watching Real Housewives of Atlanta, the first lady said. It's the same drama, and they're yelling at each other, and they don't get along. You know, I mean, Stephen A. Smith, he's just like every other talk show host. It was then jokingly put out to Obama that Smith would be a great, quote, Real Housewife. The popular reality franchise details the lives of well-off women from different regions. After the comments went viral, Obama was taken to task by Smith on his YouTube show. The ESPN star urged her to invite more dissenting opinions on IMO and said she was, quote, still salty over Obama's comments on Trump's. Stephen A. Smith is quoted as saying, Michelle Obama, I want to take this opportunity to remind you that while you are revered by my me personality, and I truly mean that with the greatest sincerity, I'm still a bit salty at you, Smith said. I think to this day, that is the only thing that I didn't like that you said. I didn't appreciate it because so many things that go into deciding where our vote is going to go. For some people, it's all about the economy. For others, it's all about national security. For some people, it's immigration. For some people, it's safety in the streets of America. Long before they think about pro-choice or pro-life. He then briefly praised Obama after branding her, quote, sensational, and claiming that both she and her husband would beat Trump in an election if either of them decided to run in the future. Well, that is Stephen A. Smith's opinion, I guess. All right. Continuing with a little bit of news, it's the top of the hour for the show. We'll be through this real quick. All right. So luckily her family ain't making a, quote, GoFundMe. Woman stabbed rival in her mother effing brain in a parking lot fight and then bragged about it on Facebook. A Texas woman is behind bars in Florida for attempting to kill a former friend of hers at a 7-Eleven last month, plunging a knife into the victim after agreeing to meet in Miami to fight, then bragging about it on social media, cops say. Call me Chucky and Michael Myers, ho, said Shakia Jenkins, 29, of Houston, in an Instagram live video reviewed by the Miami Police Department, according to her criminal complaint. That hoe can't have no fingerprints evidence. I didn't give a flying F, Jenkins allegedly said after being asked why you stabbed that girl by a viewer in reference to the victim's murder on July 15th. That hoe lucky her family ain't making a GoFundMe right now. Police say Jenkins attacked the victim, who was not named in the complaint, in the parking lot of the 7-Eleven in Miami's Liberty City neighborhood with a small black knife, following a spat at an upscale hookah lounge, Uncut Miami, earlier in the evening. The pair allegedly exited their vehicles and approached each other after arriving at the convenience store to fight before things turned deadly. During the fight, the victim felt a sharp stabbing in the face and yelled, "She's stabbing me," the complaint alleges. Video recordings from Instagram and Facebook that were reviewed by police investigators, along with written statements she made in post, allegedly show Jenkins saying things like, "I ain't sorry, B, at all, I'll do it again," and other statements related to the attack. According to authorities, she and the victims used to be friends after meeting through social media in 2023, but their friendship ended abruptly in 2024 following an argument at a Valentine's Day party. I tried to stab her in the eye in the middle of the foreheads, Jenkins proclaimed, noting that the victim was, quote, lucky she woke to see another day, per the complaint. I should have finished that hoe off, Jenkins allegedly said. I should have put a bullet in that hoe mouth, she allegedly added. Stabbed that hoe in her mother effing brain in the middle of her effing head and come out the back. She is charged with attempted first-degree murder and is being held on Monday without bond. She has prior convictions on her records for grand theft in Florida and fraud in Texas. She sounds like a fine, upstanding citizen. All right, ladies, remember we always talk to you about be cognizant of where you're at. There was something that is coming out, and there's not much news on it. It's called RizzCam, RizzCam. And people will wear these virtual reality glasses that record, or they will have cameras on them, and they will approach you on the street, flirting with you, trying to get a reaction, and filming it for social media without your consent. They approach a lot of ladies with these things, so be very vigilant while you're out, especially if you're alone. This incident comes to us from, visible blood. Man sat behind a woman on a bus before slicing her throat in an unprovoked attack. A 42-year-old man in Oklahoma has been arrested after he allegedly slashed the throat of a woman riding a city bus in Tulsa in what has been described by authorities as an unprovoked attack. Robert Rhodes was taken into custody over the weekend and charged with 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon, 1 count of false imprisonment, authorities announced. According to news releases from the Tulsa Police Department, officers about 1:09 p.m. on Sunday responded to a report of a stabbing incident that took place at a bus station in 300 block of South Cheyenne Avenue. Police officers in the area said that witnesses alerted them to an adult male suspect leaving the scene on foot and provided a DOT, direction of travel. Officers patrolling the area on bicycles immediately began searching for the suspect, later identified as Rhodes, and were able to locate him within a short while later at the 100 South Denver Avenue, where he was taken into custody without incident. Police said there was visible blood on Rhodes' clothing and that a bloody knife was recovered from his pocket during the search. The victim was rushed to the hospital. Her injuries were so severe that detectives from the department's homicide unit were called to the scene. Witnesses, including the bus driver, informed us that both Rhodes and the 43-year-old female victim boarded the bus at the Walmart stop on 81st and Lewis, police wrote in the release. Rhodes sat directly behind her and had no prior interaction or verbal exchanges. As the bus arrived at the main stations, Rhodes reached around and allegedly assaulted the victim by slicing her throat before leaving the scene. The victim underwent emergency surgery for her injuries. Doctors who operated on her told authorities that she was stabilized and they were, quote, hopeful she will make a full recovery. Investigators said they are also waiting for security footage from a camera that was located inside the bus. In addition to the charges, he is also being held as a fugitive from justice for a warrant out of Missouri. Why was he out? He's in custody in Tulsa County without bail, records show. It is not immediately clear when he was scheduled to make his first appearance in court. We've talked about these knife crimes. You can't let people get close to you, and you have to always watch your back. I know I talk about this with ladies, but it could be anybody. This one comes to us from Law and Crime. Tell her to keep being, quote, bad. Mom accused of helping her son plan terrorist attack also pointed a shotgun at an 11-month-old baby. Pictured here, you can see the blue hair, and that tells you a lot. Ashley Parado appears in court on Friday after being arrested on charges of endangering a child. This is her mugshot from the arrest. Texas mother who allegedly helped her adolescent son plan a, quote, mass shooting at a middle school is now accused of pointing a shotgun at an 11-month-old baby. Ashley Parado, his 33, was originally arrested on May 12th and charged with aiding in the commission of terrorism after she allegedly bought her 13-year-old son tactical gear and ammunition. The boy was found by police near a San Antonio middle school and taken into custody, where he remains to this day. Parado was out on bond, is now accused by police of abandoning or endangering a child with criminal negligence after their investigation uncovered a cell phone photo she took while allegedly pointing the barrel of a shotgun at an 11-month-old baby. According to the arrest affidavit obtained by ABC, KSAT allegedly sent the photo to the baby's father with the text reading, "Tell her to keep being bad." KSAT reporter that told Parado was arrested on new charges on Thursday and has appeared before a magistrate judge on Friday. She was given a $45,000 bond in order not to have any contact with her children, and she's on partial house arrest after posting $75,000 bond in connection to the charges involving her son's alleged plan to commit a mass shooting at middle school. According to the arrest affidavit, the new charges stem from them finding connected to the police investigation into the original case. Police said that during the investigation, they found the photos on her cell phone. Everybody has to get these cell phones out. From March of 2023 that depicted her aiming a shotgun barrel at the head of a baby girl who was 11 months old. In another text that she reportedly sent to the baby's father, along with a photo including the shotgun, she allegedly wrote, "Tell her to keep being bad." The affidavit stated on Parado that she had her finger on the shotgun's trigger as the baby reached towards the barrel. This woman doesn't need to be enjoying air. Her 13-year-old son was originally charged with terrorism, but now faces a charge of possessing a prohibited weapons. He remains in custody and could face more criminal charges. There's not a lot you can say. Sometimes you do get a good story, maybe not great, but some good. This comes to us from an alert reader. He messaged it to me. DNA helps Fairfax County Police identify a 4-year-old boy killed in 1972. In 1972, a terrible discovery was made in a creek in the Lorton area of the county, the body of a little boy who died from, quote, blunt force trauma. He was found under the old Colchester Road Bridge in what's now called Giles Creek. For 53 years, his identity has been known until now, thanks to work of a cold case detective in sophisticated DNA technology. The child has been identified as 4-year-old Carl Matthew Bryant. Police also now believe his infant brother was killed too. Police have tried for decades to identify the child and match him with missing children. Now we knock on the doors of genetic genealogy, said Police Chief Kevin Davis at a press conference. Long before DNA was used to solve crimes, the original detective kept a sample of the child's hair. Fast forward 5 decades, Fairfax cold case detectives took that sample to a company called Atresta Forensic in California. They developed a DNA profile that could be used for genetic genealogy. The lab in California had said normally they require 2 centimeters of hair to do the testing, and said, well, I don't even know if I have 2 millimeters to send you. They said, send it anyways, and we'll see what we can do. And they were able to develop a profile, according to cold case detective Melissa Wallace. Detectives identified a possible relative of the boy that led them to Philadelphia. Working with police, they discovered a woman named Vera Bryant had 2 sons, Carl and James. She traveled with her partner, James Hedgepeth, to Virginia in 1972. The boys never returned, and Bryant never reconnected with family in Philly. They didn't even know to ask about the kids because Vera didn't let them know she was back, so the family tie had been broken at that point. The couple is no longer alive, so Bryant's body was exhumed, her DNA confirmed. The victim was her son, Carl Matthew Bryant. Police also believe the infant James was also killed. His body also dumped someplace along the route. We believe both boys have been murdered on June 13th, 1972, between Pennsylvania and Virginia, said Fairfax County Assistant Police Chief Brooke Wright. At the press conference, Carl's cousin stood alongside the police and his aunt was in the audience. They found it too difficult to take questions, but the detective explained why this case was so important to her. She says, I have my own son. I think most of us are parents here, and to see the extent of the boy's injury and what he had suffered through, I'm happy to be here today announcing at least we have identified him. Carl's father was never known. The father of the infant, James, has been notified about his child's fate. Thanks to charitable organization, Carl had a proper burial many years ago in a cemetery in the Fort Hunt area. But during the 2012 derecho, I'm not sure what that means, his marker was washed away. I guess it was a storm. Fairfax County Police are hoping to put a bench there to finally be able to honor the little boy's memory by engraving his name on it. If you go back on some of my old shows, I did a show called The Grin and Guardian Gang. I interviewed a Fairfax County police officer, and we talked about cases such as this. It was a great interview. We're just going to hit this real quick because, well, it's another trend on TikTok, and it's a concerning caffeine trend that's targeting teenagers. Handsome young American man, I love how they word that, with a well-coiffured hair sitting in front of a seat of a car promising us an easier alternative to coffee and energy drinks. A pretty British woman also in the car is tapping her long nails against a plastic puck, excitedly telling us how you can now hold this covetable product in the UK on a TikTok shop. They're also sold on Amazon and can be ordered direct from specialists. They are, quote, upper deckies, slang for caffeine pouches that slot between the lip and gum, just a pinch between the cheek and gum. The upper deck of your mouth, they come in around 10 and look like tiny white tea bags that can be discreetly held in the user's teeth. A lower decker goes on the bottom lip, and the highly risky double decky involves two pouches in the mouth at the same time. Once in place, they deliver the stimulant drug rapidly to the user's bloodstream throughout the numerous membranes. They are marketed as a cheap alternative to energy drinks and coffee, a workout supplement to increase alertness, endurance, and an easy way to get an energy boost or buzz. Each pouch can have anywhere between 100 and 200 milligrams of caffeine. For comparison, there's 200 milligrams of caffeine in 6 cans of Coca-Cola, while the average cup of coffee has just 95 milligrams. An adult over the age of 18 can safely consume up to 400 milligrams a day. Experts fear that the caffeine pouches are being promoted to children and teenagers worrying about health concerns. Many of the caffeine pouches brand have sweet-sounding flavors: gummy bear, sour cherry, cola, and peached iced tea, to name a few. Whereas a coffee would probably taste too bitter to a young person unaccustomed to the taste, flavored or plain pouches are all more palatable. Even adults used to drink caffeinated beverages can experience adverse effects if they drink too much. Risks to children and young people are much higher, with side effects that include shaking, heart palpitation, anxiety, hyperactivity, and sleep problems. Extreme cases of caffeine poisoning in children and teens can lead to seizures, falling into a coma, and even death. Currently, there's no legal age for selling the products to children. The onus is online retailers to decide whether if they want to introduce one and start checking IDs. A spokesperson for TikTok told The Standard that a TikTok shop has age restrictions that prevent people under the age from buying on the app. So there you go. That's one TikTok trend. Now, I got to be honest here for a minute. I had thought about trying those. So we'll do this real quick, and then you'll have to pardon my nerdiness for a minute. Burn lines. It's the latest trend on TikTok. France is trying to ban it. The French government is calling on a digital watchdog to hold TikTok accountable for its harmful trends. TikTok is known for sparking online trends from, quote, bathroom camping to the resurrection of ugly shoes. Back in June, the French government petitioned against Skinny Talk, a TikTok trend promoting extreme thinness. The associate conduct with included over 500,000 posts showcase people's workout routines and their eating habits. TikTok admitted that that type of content glorifies thinness and vilifies weight gain and promotes disordered eating behavior. Well, now TikTok is redirecting users to the search hashtag towards mental health and support. The platform eventually banned, and France rejoiced. However, it's now contending with another dangerous trend. tan talk or burn talk is a current trend that promotes unhealthy UV exposure. Young women are instructed on TikTok on how to achieve the perfect tan lines or burn lines. Yes, how to get a fake burn. Letter states that the trends are in opposition to the Digital Service Act and a set of regulations. French ministers have referred to the issue to the French independent agency responsible. So apparently, you try and go and get sunburn to get the perfect burn. I don't like sunburn. In fact, it put me in a hospital once. It wasn't because of the burn, though. It was because of the medicine they used. Spider-Man, brand new day. Well, action footage has been revealed. Spider-Man is back, and Peter Parker himself made sure the whole world would see it. Spider-Man, brand new day, the fourth solo of Tom Holland's version of the Marvel beloved web singer, is currently filming in Scotland, and we're slowly learning a little bit about it. We know that Mark Ruffalo will appear as the Hulk, good news, as will John Bernthal as the Punisher, Michael Mando as Scorpion, and Sadie Sink in an unknown role. And we also have a new look at the Spider-Man suit in a quick teaser from Sony. But one thing is missing from the suit. That was the Spidey's mask. Well, this was the big reveal that we've waited to see. Plenty of images from the set have made their way onto social media. They show Tom Holland in full costume, including the mask. You can see some of the images below. And, well, you can see Tom Holland in actual action in the Spider-Man outfit. Love the mask. It's a perfect recreation of the mask from the comics as you can get. It's actually pretty close to the original mask that he wore in the last 3 episodes of Spider-Man films. I think the eyes are a bit bigger and the red is a little lighter to match the rest of the costume, but those are the only differences that this reporter can see, and they had to look up images of Spidey from other movies to compare. It's impossible to tell if the eyes will widen and squint, but that's done with special effects. I imagine they'll keep that feature because, well, it's cool as hell. So basically, it's the original Spider-Man costume as drawn by Stan Lee in the comic book. So we're glad to see that back. Yes, I know I'm a Spider-Man geek. I'm sorry. So just bear with me for that one. Let's get into what we do every day, which is the daily FEMA operations briefing. And I'm going to be honest with you here. FEMA has been dropping the ball. I'm not seeing a new update since Saturday, which is unusual. So hopefully we'll find out why soon, because they've missed Monday and Tuesday's press releases. So we'll talk about the daily briefing here on the news. On the National Weather Service, which is included in the FEMA daily briefing. And we know one thing's for sure. Well, there's going to be some severe storms in the Carolina and central to South Georgia. We're going to have rain pretty much from Boston down to Florida, extending into the Gulf of America and the Panhandle and the Texas Curve. The Dakotas, man, I am so sorry you guys are getting hammered again today. And over in Utah and Colorado, there's concerns of critical fire weather. So if you're in the Dakotas, be prepared. Tomorrow, it's looking a little bit better, except for spotty showers from much of the country on the eastern side of the Mississippi. But there are some lows developing off the coast that we need to keep an eye of. And then on Thursday, the outlook so far for day 3 just predicts spotty showers in the South and New England, as well as up through the Dakotas and the Midwest and out to the West Coast at Washington and Oregon. So there are lots of talk currently on the internet about Dexter. He's formed and he's going off to sea, but there's 2 other storms behind him. So the tornado cast today, well, South Dakota, North Dakota, I'm sorry, you're not out of the gun. Please have your weather radios on and be alert. As with the tornado forecast, we can see that they're also anticipating some pretty high winds in the Dakotas. And there's even a chance of golf ball size hails in some of those storms. We'll take a look at them here in a minute. All right, the next thing we always do is, well, the president's daily schedule because, well, we want to know what our president's doing. Go back in time and see that basically the only thing was the lunch. So it was a pretty uneventful day at the White House. Today, well, at 4 o'clock today, here in about an hour and a half, the president is signing some executive orders. The South Court Auditorium will only be available to pre-credentialed media. That's all that is on his schedule for today. All right, so let's go down under because, well, we've ignored our friends down under and get a weather briefing. So currently in Sydney, it's right around 56 degrees. And Sydney can anticipate some sunny skies, nice and warm. And that's going to continue for the next 2 days. Actually, for the next couple of days in Sydney, you can anticipate a little bit of a warm up. Melbourne, well, it's currently about 50 degrees. And you're going to have some sunshine and clouds today. The rest of the week is going to be fairly good for you, except for on Wednesday, you could have some cloudiness and maybe a spotty shower. Brisbane, well, it's currently around 56. It's mostly clear. And, well, you can anticipate plenty of sunshine today, a nice little warm up with a high of 78. You could get some spotty showers later in the week. Perth, well, it's currently about 50 degrees. You're going to have some cloudy skies and a shower or spot or two, but you're only going to make it up to 66 degrees. So there's a powerful low pressure system off the eastern side of Australia over here, which we'll show you in the other map in a minute. And it's going to bring heavy rain, strong winds, and, of course, hazardous surfs over on the southern Queensland, well, over the weekend. So rain totals could get a little high, so be prepared for some flash flooding. In Western Australia, a separate cold front is expected to bring rain and gusty winds as it comes inland. Possible thunderstorms around Perth over the weekend. Central Australia, well, you should remain mostly dry with chilly mornings and cooler days. So be prepared on the coast for strong surfs. And if you're doing any rock fishing or anything, be prepared for hazardous sea conditions on the coast. So later in the week, be alert for flash flooding and, well, it could cause some travel disruptions. So please stay alert. And if you have, I don't know if Australia has weather radios or not. If you do, please have them handy so that you can check and see if there's anything active in your area. Okay, we talked about Dexter. It looks like Dexter's just going to continue to go to the northeast. It's going to cause some showers along the Atlantic seaboard, pretty much from Savannah up to Norfolk. It's going to turn slightly and go out to sea to the northeast, where it's not going to affect anybody in the North Atlantic Ocean. But there's other disturbances that are back here to the east coming off of the coast of Africa, the Horn there, that we have to be worried about later in the day. So Washington, D.C., well, your daily forecast, it's going to be cloudy with a high of 78. That's not too bad for D.C. Tampa, you've gotten out of the warm stuff, but it's still 93 and cloudy there. Up in New York City, well, you're going to have a high of 83 with cloudy skies. As you can see, much of the eastern half of the country is covered in clouds. So it's going to be a cloudy day in the southeast, northeast, mid-Atlantic, everywhere east of the Mississippi. All right. We look at the current radar and we see that really there's some spotty showers over the central part of Australia, moving to the west, and that's going to just be occasional showers. So that's not a very big storm. It's not even really, I wouldn't even call that a line. It's just some spotty showers that are kind of perusing, I think is a good word, from the west to the east. I wouldn't anticipate much rainfall out of that one, but the bigger one is coming. So let's go over to the United States and have a look. Well, current rainfall on the east side of the Appalachia, pretty much from Atlanta all the way up through Richmond. Can anticipate some pretty heavy to moderate rain. Atlanta, you're going to get drizzled on a little bit, but It looks as though the most stuff is to your northeast and moving to the northeast, following the Appalachians, and hopefully up around Richmond, it will go out through the Chesapeake Bay and not continue onward. All right, so the current weather forecast, or the current weather map, that was hard for me to say. For the United States, we see the red flag warnings that we talked about over here in Colorado and Utah. And there's some red flag warnings extending all the way into Arizona, heat advisories for Texas, and then extreme heat for Southern California and Arizona and the Texas down there, little Texas tip. We can see all kinds of flood watches from the east side of the Appalachia, all the way through Atlanta, up through Charlotte, and that will probably continue today to go northeastward. And, well, we can't talk about New England and the Boston area without talking about the horrible air quality that they're having up there. So most of the heavy storms, we'll take a look at the lightning activity. Most of the heavy storms are in Greenville, northeast of Atlanta, moving to the northeast, and then up along Greensboro, the Winston-Salem area, Raleigh, you can expect some severe storms. And that one cell is pretty strong right off of the coastland, coming north of Charleston, almost over to Oak Island, to the west of Oak Island. So it's got a little activity to it. We'll check it out here in a minute. Let's see. We've talked about Dexter. Well, he's just going to be annoying and go out to sea. He's just going to cause some rainfall as his bands pretty much peruse the coastline of the mid-Atlantic. So we can't really see on the radar anything forming yet back here, but this is where we're going to start talking. We'll see on the air quality. We're going to start talking about the next couple storms. We'll look at weather warning from our friends at WX Warn. It's a good site to have, and it's a good addition to have to your weather radio. Items that I really encourage everyone to have is a radio that picks up the National Weather Service and will alert you, a good pocket tool, as well as a light of some kind, or a torch is what I'm being told they're referred to in other parts of the world. So as we talked about, we look at the weather warnings. We see that North Carolina, Georgia, well, you have flash flood warnings. New Mexico, you have a heat advisory, which we talked about. Illinois and Missouri, you have a flood warning from that one cell that's just kind of splashing up pretty good. Of course, Wisconsin, you have that horrible air quality to deal with for the next 24 hours. Texas has got a heat advisory, as does New Mexico. And that's going to continue pretty much all through the daylight hours. And it's not going to get much of a break tonight, as it's probably going to be held in check by the clouds. And so North Carolina, we talked about your flooding. In Nevada, we talked about red flag warnings on Nevada. So in Wisconsin, the horrible quality of air you have, you're going to have to endure that for another 24 hours, and it's going to extend to the northeast. So with that storm, there are some beach hazards this can cause along the Atlantic seaboard, some extreme currents, rip tides. So if you're out fishing or any activity, be aware of the rip tides. Alabama, well, parts of you are going to have a severe flood watch in effect. It's got about 5 hours left to go. So we talked about the heat in Texas and Oklahoma, and we talked about all the rip currents in Florida. Iowa, you're under a pretty good flood warning right now. So this is Iowa, right? I make sure I'm not saying Idaho. So okay. All right. So it was Iowa. I want to make sure of that because I don't know. Without my glasses, who knows? All right. Let's check and see where the heavy electrical activities from these storms are right now. Wow. Look here to the southeast between Jacksonville and almost Atlanta, extending back from Panama City all the way up through Myrtle Beach, the Outer Banks area. That activity there and that band is pretty strong. The heaviest sections are around Tallahassee, Dothan, Alabama. Go over to the east and we see Jacksonville. Oh, you've got some activity around you. Savannah, you've got a pretty nice cell putting off some pretty heavy lightning. But from Charleston to Myrtle Beach, that cell is very strong and producing a lot of activity. So make sure that you are weather aware if you are in those parts of the country. We'll go back over here to the Dakotas. We see there's a storm up in Regina that's going to be moving down through Montana into Dakota. That could contain some possible heavy winds, damaging lightning, and always the risk of tornadic activity for you today if you are in the Dakotas. Specifically, right now, the cell is located to the west of Fargo, closer to Fargo than it is Bismarck, however. So that storm will be continuing to move through the northeast throughout the day. All right. While we're talking about that, we can't help but want to check and see where all the power outages currently are. And it looks like currently California is experiencing 45,655 people without power. Now, it all appears to be in the San Bernardino County area, well, at least 33,000 of them. So it doesn't really say why, but Southern California Edison is experiencing 33,483 people without power. If you're listening in San Bernardino, maybe you can shoot me a message and let me know what's up there. Is it just use, or is there something else going on? Look at Texas. Texas has got, in Terrell County, 474 people out. And in Crockett County, there's only 69, 122 over in Pecos. Looks like the little horn there, Jeff Davis, has got 16 out, 8 out in Culberson. Why is it showing that 10,000 people are without power? It must be pretty spread evenly so it doesn't highlight everyone. Let's take a look at the big, beautiful, perfect globe. For those of you listening on the radio and allowing me to tickle your ears, this is the section of the show where we show the AI wind-generated globe, and we see all the wind activity as AI produces it in real time. So talking about the United States, well, coming up from old South of America is a strong line of wind going all the way up to Canada. And off the coast of Oregon, well, we see some winds there, but they're just skirting the coast. Also, as you go down through the California and Baja region, it is just skirting the coast and does not appear to be coming inland. You see here, Tropical Storm Dexter is, well, he's spinning there, and he's going to continue to the north-northeast. He's not going to affect you, Bermuda, if you're listening. So we can't really see what's developing back here on the wind map, so it's kind of hard to tell. Let's go down to Australia, to our friends down under. And as we discussed, it's going to be slightly breezy, but the breeze is going to be going from the east to the northwest and does not look to be too severe. So it'll be kind of breezy today, but not too bad. All right, let's move onward because we're doing okay with time. All right, so I want to talk about fires for a minute. I have no idea if this is a real thing or not, but several other countries, Poland, France, parts of UK, have arrested Russians for starting fires as terrorists. So currently Canada, I haven't read anything about anybody in Canada. I did read that one wildfire was caused by a bird that dropped a fish on a power line, and the storm started there, or the fire started there. Interesting. I don't know how they deduce that, but there are so many fires in Canada, I can't help but wonder if some of them aren't intentionally set. And with that being said, we going down into Colorado, the Dragon Fire. So that's the South Rim. Let's see here. No, that's not it. Nope, go away. I don't want you. They've called one the Dragon Fire in Colorado, and it was almost out, and then suddenly it just popped back up. And now it's burning out of control to the point where now it is considered a conflagration, I think is the correct terminology. It's out of control, and it is generating its own weather. It's generating fire weather, and it is going to continue to burn. The interesting thing to note is it was contained almost down to zero, then suddenly blew up and became a massive storm that is now out of control. But also, they have restricted air so that pilots cannot go in there and do air tanker drops of water to help assist with the fire. So now the best they can do is try and contain it, but it is burning out of control in Colorado. So that is a huge fire in Colorado. And there's several fires we see too on the west of the Mississippi and, of course, in California. My concern is I wonder if any of those could possibly be a terroristic fire by ignition. So, all right. So we talked about the air quality. Let's look at the smoke map coming out of Canada. Wow, it's coming down. It is really just crashing through the Great Lakes. And when I say it's coming down, I'm talking about the smoke, and it's heavy smoke coming down from Canada, across Lake Superior, Toronto, down into much of the Midwest, Chicago, Detroit, Toronto, Ottawa, even as far to the northeast on the mid-Atlantic as Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston. It is pushing that heavy smoke down through there and causing such extreme weather conditions with smoke. If it's you and me out there, you probably might want to put a mask on in some of these areas because the air is so unhealthy, or better yet, just stay indoors. So that is just horrible smoke and air quality conditions. We look at the interactive map of air quality and see if it'll load today. I think yesterday it had some problems loading. Yep, it's loading good today. We look and see they're only calling it for a code brown, pretty much from the Great Lake. Well, no, let's just go back a little bit. It's code yellow, pretty much from Winnipeg to the southeast, all the way down to Norfolk, with New York, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Milwaukee, Chicago. Your code brown. And air quality is just horrible, and it's going to continue to be churning from the smoking the Canadian fires down to the southeast as it extends out over the lower 48. And straight up the middle of the country, well, Texas to Kansas, Dallas, Austin, Kansas, your code yellow. Back over to Salt Lake City, Denver to Salt Lake City, your code yellow. A lot of that is due to your fire activity. Southern California, except for pockets in San Diego and Tijuana, Mexico, code orange. So, but Southern California, most of Southern California is code yellow for today. And let's look at the world air quality map and see what we have here. No, that's not what I want. That's what I want. All right, so going back to the United States, we see how that smoke is just pushing down through the lower 48 to over the Great Lakes, out through mid-Atlantic, Washington, D.C., nation's capital, New York, Boston, up through there. And we're not getting a break from that for the next day or two. So your air quality is going to be horrible. And if you remember, we always talk about the dust coming off. Well, it's trying to get that little break, which is going to create these tropical disturbances, because once we stop getting the dust, that allows the air to warm up and generate electricity, and that's where we can get these storms, named storms specifically. So we're going to keep our eye out. I've heard anywhere from 50 to 80% of chance of two hurricanes developing in the Atlantic. So we're going to keep our eyes on that for the next couple of days. Australia, looking at your air quality, if you're along the Gold Coast, Newcastle, Sydney, Brisbane, air quality is not that bad, but the air currents from the smoke from the fires are going to pretty much due north all the way out through Cairns. I'm probably saying it wrong, and I apologize to my Canadian audience. In Central Australia, it's pretty much staying light. But if you get over towards Broome and to the northeast of Broome, going towards Darwin, that smoke is heavier from those fires there. I did see a different version of this, which I pulled out today and thought was pretty good. So They were talking about rankings of cities with the worst air. New York, well, you're currently ranked at 7th as the worst air in the world. If we look at the big picture, this is the quote, big, beautiful, perfect globe that we use daily, but they've now added air quality in showing where the horrible quality conditions are in the world, with actual real-time winds showing the movement. You can see the dust coming out of the Sierra, still pushing to the south along the equator. It's not quite making it up into the Gulf of America. So that's what we're worried about with that little break. We'll go down to our friends in Australia, and we'll see your air quality is not bad, especially with the winds blowing from the south to the north. It's really, except for along the coast in the northeast, pushing all of that smoke from the fires out, and your air quality is pretty good. You can zoom out and we can see the whole globe overall and see how current air conditions are, air quality conditions, along with the current wind conditions. All right, let's go to next page because we're moving right along. Let's talk about real-time temperatures right now, just to check to see what the temperature is where you are. And we'll start up in Boston. It's 72. No, I'm sorry, it's high. That's your high. It's 73 in Boston. New York, it's 84. And we talked about New York. That's going to be a little bit higher than they predicted with cloudy skies today. Virginia, Washington, D.C., nation's capital, DMV, it's currently 78, which is your high. It's going to be cloudy today and hazy from that smoke. We go down and see Jacksonville. Well, Jacksonville, you're right now at your high at 92. So Tampa, looking at you, and your high is predicted to be 93, and you are currently at 93. Go over to Alabama. We look over towards Mobile, Alabama, and we see that currently it's in the 80s, going up through the northeast. Atlanta, you're 70 degrees. Charlotte, 69, a little cool front right there. It's not going to last, though. If you look behind it here, this is all the heat. Up into Columbus, you're 80. Toronto, you're 76. Louisville, Kentucky, 82. St. Louis, 84. Memphis, 85. You can see the temperatures getting closer to the Gulf, and to the west is getting warmer. In Jackson, you are currently at 87, 86 in New Orleans. Going over to Houston, well, if we start looking there, it's 89 in Houston, 92 in Dallas. Right now, Phoenix has got the hot spot at 109 degrees. Las Vegas, well, you're currently sitting at 100. So that's extending pretty much over to the West Coast and down through the Baja and into Mexico. But fear not. Don't worry, that heat will be coming back to the mid-Atlantic. All right, let's drop down to Australia. Look at current temperatures. Brisbane, you are currently 52. Sydney, you are 55. Melbourne, you are 42. Adelaide, currently 46. Perth, 50 degrees. Port Hedland, 71. Darwin, 67. And we talked about Cairns up there at 61. All right, down in New Zealand, now it's chilly down there, 32 degrees on the very southwest portion of New Zealand. Southwest. I'm trying. You have to bear with me. All right, so as we talked about that heat, we have to talk about the warnings, and we pretty much covered it. All of Florida, code orange, code red today. Man, from Mexico all the way up straight to Denver, code orange, back to the west over to Utah, Southern California, code orange, getting into Arizona, New Mexico. It's all code orange with some code red. So what that means is red is, well, it affects anyone that doesn't have proper cooling and hydration, and if they're unhealthy. Code orange, well, that's moderate, but you're still sensitive to the heat. You need to be cooling yourself and hydrating well. You will get extremely dehydrated quick on days like today in certain parts of the country. Look at the latest earthquakes. I'm going to update this real quick. Make sure I'm giving you the most recent information. And the 2.7 So this says it hasn't changed. The 2.7 was the most recent earthquake in Hillsdale, New Jersey. Alaska, you had a 3.5. And moving down through that ring of fire into the Russian provinces, 4.7. Alaska had a 2.9. We can see there. Tonga, you had a 4.8 and a 5.1 in Kyrgyzstan. I'm assuming that is in the Middle East. And how long ago was that one? I didn't put my clock up here today. That's one of the things I'm missing today. Y'all didn't tell me that. So it was 1850 Universal Time on 8/5. This was on 8/5 at 0428. So about 10 hours ago in Hawaii, they had the earthquakes. It says it was just updated and not showing anything new. Let's go over to this other site and update it real quick. And the greater New York area was the most recent at 2.7. And then back to the Dominican Republic, 5.0. That was 9 hours ago. Puerto Rico, 2.6. Chile, 4.2, but that was 10 hours ago. Haiti, you had a 3.3 11 hours ago. Doesn't look as though there's any earthquake. Whoa, wrong button. Any earthquakes down in the Australia region. Let me make this larger so I can see. Yeah, there's nothing down in those regions at all. So we go back in time. The most recent, the southeast Iran 13 hours ago had a 5.4. And then off the coast of Kamacha 17 hours ago, a 5.1. Iran had a 4.1. So they've had a series of earthquakes in Iran, in the Middle East. It's shaking over there. 5.2 in Kamacha yesterday. So that area is really getting peppered. So is Iran. I haven't seen any recent volcanic activity, even though there's concerns about some on the West Coast, and then there's some in the Midwest saying that there's going to be a problem in Yellowstone. But so far, I have not seen any activity indicating that. So I updated this real quick, and the most recent one they have here is in Chile, and trying to see, yeah, there's no recent volcanic activity. Yeah, these go way back. 8 hours ago was an earthquake, and I don't see any volcanic activity listed. Let's see. Now it was in June, so nothing there. And what is this down here? Yeah, I don't see any volcanic activity listed as recently. It's all, well, wait a minute, August 2nd, 2025, in Lebutuan volcano. Well, it had an ash warning put out. So, all right, that was to the northwest of Australia. That was, can we bring up the live webcam? Hey, we can. Doesn't show us anything, but we can bring up the live webcam. All right, well, that was fun while it lasted. Close that. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else really active. Kilauea, it was last reported as being active in June in Hawaii. And then this was an earthquake. This is the earthquake we talked about down in the New Zealand, northeast of New Zealand. And Tofu volcano was last reported active in 2024. So that's not anything to worry about, but there was a small earthquake out there. All right, let's go to the event list. We haven't made it here yet this week, so we'll kind of go back in time a little bit and see what we missed. Malaysia, 30 people were stung by jellyfish in an open water event. South Africa, a bird flu outbreak has threatened poultry and wildlife in the Western Cape. And dolphins were stranded in Oahu, but they had infectious bacterial diseases. I didn't know about that one. United Kingdoms, well, they've issued a measles warnings as the measles are rising throughout Europe. Sudan, 8 people pass away due to deadly cholera outbreak. Afghanistan, measles kill 357 Afghan children. UNICEF warns of a deepening crisis and calls for urgent aid. Do we not have vaccines for this? Can't we send them a vaccine? We were pretty good there for a while about giving everybody a stick. Can we not send them the vaccine? I'm pretty sure at one point we almost had eradicated measles. I could be wrong. New Zealand doctors are on alert as the dengue fever cases are surging among people returning from overseas. United States, 2 people were dead, 58 diagnosed with Legionnaire's disease in Harlem. I hadn't heard of that. That was breaking news for today. I missed. So 2 dead, 58 diagnosed with Legionnaire's disease in Harlem. China, they are worried about chikungunya. I'm probably really butchering that one. Case. They're rising. I don't know what that is. France, a woman dies in a botulism outbreak. Italy records its 10th death due to West Niles. India, 78 people get anti-rabies vaccines after a midday meal gets contaminated. What the hell were you eating that you had to take rabies vaccinations for? Wow. Let's see. That's old. Syria, Druze clashes Europe in Syria's Swata. Ceasefire violated and renewed violence. Well, that's over there. It's always. Nigeria gunmen have kidnapped more than 50 people in a northwestern village. Syria, well, they're still clashing, and that's just going to continue for a while. Sudan, heavy gunfire have been heard throughout the Sudan capital. That's old. Sorry, disregard. That's old. Syria. I got it confused with Syria there. Public safety incidents. The United Kingdom, a man is in charge with attempted murder after 2 injured in a knife attack outside of an Aldi. What did we just talk about with knives? Everybody really needs to be careful about letting people get close enough to be in your bubble to cut you. 2 dead, 6 wounded in a downtown Los Angeles shooting over the weekend. 1 dead, 3 injured in a shooting outside of Augusta over the weekend. 7 inmates were killed, 11 injured in prison riots in Mexico. 2 dead, 7 wounded in a mass shooting and retaliatory attack in Harvey. It was yesterday. Don't know where that one was. 1 person shot dead, 2 others in connection with a Santa Barbara stabbing, according to the police, and they have arrested a subject. Let's look at this real quick about Harvey. I don't know where that is. And 2 shooters opened fire Saturday night, 8 p.m. in the 1400 block of Des Plaines Street. 7 people were hurt, including a 4-year-old boy. Hours later, a man in a van was shot to death. Police say the attacks are linked. A man was fatally shot in Harvey early Sunday, what local officials called a retaliatory attack after a mass shooting that left 1 dead, 7 others wounded Saturday night. Among the injured were the 4-year-old. The Cook County Commissioner Keisha Maxgill said, "I'm heartbroken and outraged by the senseless acts of violence that took place in our community." So there's all kinds of shootings. And, I should have guessed. It is in a suburb of Chicago on the south side. So I should have guessed that. All right, we're almost out of time here. I'd like to encourage everybody to please come over and find us on the YouTubes. Hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, notifications so you know when I come on the air. I currently do a daily news show from 1 to 3 Eastern time. Also do a show. We're covering the CBS Big Brother TV show. So we'll have a show on that Thursday night. Wednesday, we have the pair are normal guys. Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We have 2 great authors lined up, and we're going to be talking to them. They have some great stories and some great information, good backstory too. So looking forward to that. And as always, I encourage everybody, I really need you all to come over and subscribe. Thank you for allowing me to tickle your ears. Thank you for Denise and Wendell and I guess Chris, whoever else was in the chat for having to put up with my ugly mug. I do appreciate it. So we'll continue looking at things going on. And right now, I'm just kind of looking at the New England Fire page. In the last 24 hours, it's been busy. So if you want to get the latest fire buff information in the Boston, New York, New England region, go over to New England Fire News and check them out. And then you can also find all of the activity going on. Well, not all, but in the liveusamap.com for crimes. We looked at Globe and looked at the planes. We'll look real quick at the military to see if they're doing anything shady, which, well, they're never doing anything shady. What am I talking about? And we see they're quite busy along the Atlantic coast, down in the Gulf of America, Southern California, and, well, looks like they have some other operations going on. A lot of training down in the Gulf of America, and a lot of stuff being moved around from town to town. I almost cited a reference to WKRP, town to town, up and down the dial. Looks like up in New England, up in the, well, maybe Vermont, they had some fighters out there and they were fueling them. So had some air aviations along the coast, some Blackhawks and stuff in the New England, Maine area, Boston. I suspect all that has probably got something to do with a little bit of Homeland stuff. So probably looking for some bad guys. So, all right, I'm going to leave you guys and gals out of here going on with Bitdefender. It's the last thing we usually look at. We see that red are attacks, yellow are infections, white are spam. And I've learned from a friend recently that by merely answering a text, replying back to a text, you can get a virus and go onto the dark web. So it's probably best not to reply back to people you don't know. So we see that currently most of the attacks are coming from within the United States, with an occasional one coming over from Asia, but it looks like most of the attacks are within, and we see a lot of infections. I know the healthcare systems are on high alert right now. So everybody be prepared, be vigilant, don't have your head in the sand, but be aware. And as always, be weather aware. I encourage everybody to have a weather radio, some type of pocket tool in case, well, in case you kind of got to do some work with a pocket tool. So I'll leave that to you. They're sharp and pointy in my house. All right, everybody, have a great day. Thank you, Denise. Thank you to everyone in the chat for joining in. I will see you guys and gals tomorrow afternoon. And once again, thank you for allowing me to tickle your ears. I'm going to hit the button and we're going to get out of here if I can find the button.